the chat if you can hear me so that I don't start off with no sound. And oh, I see that some of you are in the chat. You're probably waiting for me. It's good to see you. Thank you. And do drop something in the chat. Let me see if I can get my mouse to work better so I can. There we go. I can say hello. Hi, Dennis. It's good to see you. Thank you for joining me today. Those of you that are joining, please drop a note as you join and let us know where you're joining from. As you know, we come here every Tuesday, talk about the now, the new, and the next in careers. And we've been kind of on a tear around resumes, but don't worry, we'll be switching topics soon, talking more about digital branding and some of the transitions that are happening in LinkedIn and beyond, as well as in career transition. But today is all about resumes, and today is really a time for you to ask your questions. I'm going to share some of the questions people have asked recently in our comments on YouTube, which I absolutely love. Stick around. I'm going to give you a little bonus for commenting on YouTube because we are trying to grow our channel there. And I love that all of you are here. Thank you. Oh, hi, Lynn. Good to see you. Excellent. Hi, Betsy. Good to see you. John, thanks for tuning in. So good to see you as well. And excellent. All right. Let's see. Oh, and thank you, Andrea. And she's joining us on YouTube. Love it. Excellent. Okay, 10 p.m. in Vienna, and you stayed up to talk to us. Thank you. My hair is red. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Good to see you all. Okay, so let's jump right in, and we're going to talk about some of these comments that I've been getting on our YouTube channel. Not surprisingly, a lot of them around applicant tracking systems. I did a video a while ago. It's one of the most popular videos on the channel about applicant tracking systems. And here's the thing. There are more than 200 applicant tracking systems. There are some popular ones, of course, that many people use, and you can see JobVite and Talio and some of those systems out there, but there's more than 200 of them. And even those that are commonly used, each company is going to change the system a little bit to fit their needs. For instance, Cheryl Minnick, who does a lot of our applicant tracking system research for the things I share on this channel, is at the University of Montana. And for a while, the University of Montana had their applicant tracking system to where it gave the score of the resume. So it didn't automatically reject anyone, but it would give people the score of the resume. They recently switched to where instead of giving the score, the resumes are just in order, but the person viewing doesn't see the score. They just see the order of the client in terms of their score. There are companies that use a system. My husband used to work at one that just collected the resumes. It didn't actually score them or anything. They just used it as an actual applicant tracking system where it was collecting them and filing them, right? So there's a scoring feature that can be turned on and off depending on what the company wants. They can list the score or not. They can put people in rank order or not. And they can automatically reject people. But from what I read, that's not very common. And it's kind of common sense, right? If I'm a company and I'm using this automated rejection, I'm probably rejecting a lot of people that would be a good fit for the role because the systems aren't great yet. They might reject someone because they submitted a PDF instead of a Word document. There are still applicant tracking systems that a PDF will score a 0 in that application system. So you want to make sure you're following the directions. You're looking at what file types it says it will take, and you're thinking about all of that. The number one reason that you will get an automated rejection, and in a lot of systems, the only way you'll get an automated rejection is because you answer a question in the application process in a way that doesn't align with what the company set up. So if they say, do you have 5 years of experience in this? And you say no, that will cause an automated rejection. Are you eligible to work in the US? If you say no and it's a required yes, that will automatically reject you. So those questions at the beginning of the application, you want to pay close attention to because it's much more likely that those are an automated rejection than anything else. So then the number 2 problem is that we think if our resume is not scoring well, or if we think we're getting an automated rejection, that it must be the formatting. Nope, sorry. I could bet you 98% of the time, maybe 99% of the time, it is not the formatting that is causing your resume to get rejected. It's because we haven't aligned the words in the document to the words that the company is looking for. Thankfully, there are some ways that you can figure that out now. I mean, obviously, there's paid systems that will do your resume scoring for you. Be careful, those are not mirroring an applicant tracking system directly. They're doing their best to do that. And sometimes they will say, oh, you need these words or whatever. And it maybe or maybe not. Sometimes they'll say, oh, you need to have your dates on the right-hand side. ATS doesn't care where your dates are as long as they're easy to find. So be careful of some of those things. But you can also use free system like ChatGPT or Perplexity, anywhere where you can paste in your resume and then paste in the job description and ask the system to analyze it. These systems, we don't necessarily want them writing a whole bunch for us because they write fiction. You can't put fiction on your resume. But we do the comparisons there, and it does a really good job of that. So it will tell you where your gaps are. It can tell you if you're missing keywords. I would not ask it to weave those words in for you. Don't ask it to target your resume for you, because when you do that, it puts in all of its generic made up junk and sometimes we'll take out the nice specifics that you have. So ask it to look for the gaps, ask it to tell you what the gaps are. You don't necessarily need it to fix the resume for you. So that's just one of the, excellent. Applications. I don't know what the 600 plus is, but tell us, what are you talking about here with your 600 plus and 800 plus? I'd love to know where that is coming from. Excellent. So thinking about applicant tracking systems, we give them too much glory. And the problem with that is that then we don't focus on what we really need to do, which is write a strong resume that shows we're qualified. Well, maybe we back the truck up a little bit, right? We need to be qualified for the roles that we apply to. And we've been teaching our certified hidden job market class for almost 8 years now. And the data that we share in that class around that having 75% of the qualifications or more when you apply online, that doesn't come out of thin air. It actually comes from a research study that DeVry Academies, DeVry doesn't exist anymore, but they had this career advisory board that was awesome. Whatever you think about, for-profit universities, they had this career advisory board that was awesome and did this research study. And what it found was job seekers that found a job fast, so within 6 months, they applied to positions where they had 75% or more of the qualifications. So that's why if you are applying online, you have to be qualified. You just do. And if you want to apply for jobs where you're not qualified, you're going to go about it a different way. You're going to network, you're going to do other things. But if you're applying online, you want to be qualified for those roles, and then you need to show that you're qualified for those roles, which is going to take us into our next question from a viewer, but I'll just check and see if anyone has. 600 plus applicant tracking systems. I've never heard that, but it doesn't, the number is big, which just means that we can't say, does this work in ATS or does it not? We can just say that these tactics, resume design strategies, work in most systems. And so what I know, and we've been researching this for about 7 years, almost all of the formatting tools that you could use work in an applicant tracking system. Underlining, italics, bold, shading, borders, all those work. The only thing that still doesn't get read by the applicant tracking system, but it does not prevent the other text from being read most of the time, is graphics and text boxes. So I've had some comments asking me to give you a template. I don't do templates, and here's why. Your resume formatting, the number one purpose it serves is to draw the eye to the most important information for you. And so if you've got a template, you're trying to shove your information into the template, you're saying, oh, this looks pretty. That's not why we format a resume. We format a resume to say, I want to put shading around these accomplishments because they really pop and they're important to the job and they make me stand out. They're differentiating. We format a resume with lines and shading to draw the eye through the resume, but you might want to put your education up top, or you might want to use a little bit longer summary because you're trying to change careers. And so there's a lot of strategy behind resume design. And I understand as a job seeker why a template might be good for you, and there's nothing wrong with that. But as a professional resume writer, I really encourage us to stay away from templates because we should be thinking strategy. Where am I drawing the I? What makes sense? What is most important on this document? Am I going to format the experience section with this first or with that first? Because every decision we make tells the I where to go. And it's all about strategy. Yes, it's about looking good, but it's also all about strategy. So, yeah, Chandra is saying, can you talk about the process too? So we did a whole session with some demo. I did some demo of the AI systems in Zoom a few weeks ago because it's hard to live stream ChatGPT and they take a lot of bandwidth. So I will send you, Chandra, you're on LinkedIn. So I'll send you a message with the link to that recording from last 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, where I did the demo of ChatGPT. Short answer, paste in your resume, paste in the job description, and ask it to tell you where the gaps are or what keywords you're missing. But I'd be happy to send you that demo. Text in headers and footers also doesn't get read by ATS. Simple, just don't use it, right? And we don't need to put that in there. Excellent. All right. So the one last ATS question that I had was around text boxes, and no, they don't go through the scanning system. They don't get read, but they do not stop the rest of the resume from getting read. So the text box itself won't get read, but everything else on the page will be read. This is why we want to be careful of templates, not necessarily because they're bad or they're wrong, but if the if the elements on it aren't done on the page, then they may not get read. So if you use this fancy Canva template, it's highly possible that the elements on that are graphics, not word processing. And so when it goes into a PDF, even those graphics may not translate well into the system when it reads them. And again, all systems don't accept PDFs. So I recommend you use a Microsoft Word document to build your resume. If you turn it into PDF, there's a better chance it will get read if the system takes PDFs. Always pay attention to your directions as you're uploading there. All right, so the next question that someone asked was about a gap. And this person said that they had been in a program at a trade school, it sounds like, to learn HVAC technician skills, and then COVID hit. And they've been out of work for a while since then. So I want to go through a little bit of show and tell of what we might do in that situation. And I'm not going to be able to, completely solve it today, but we'll go through and we'll look at some of the options. So this was a resume example that I did a while ago for someone that was a student that had gained some experience. And let me just make sure you're able to see this here. Maybe. Okay, let me know in the chat if you can see that, and we'll go through this real quick. So the number one thing before you worry about anything, you might say, oh, this is old school. Yeah, it's a little old. We wouldn't want to include it's a few years old. We wouldn't want to include the what is this? The address anymore, so we can take that out of there. But we've got the LinkedIn address, and this is all fictionalized. So this was a client in some way similar, had gone back to school to become a desktop technician, and now they were coming out. This person didn't have a gap, but we'll talk about how we could fill that gap. Number one thing we think about before we even worry about the gap is, what is the company looking for, and how can I demonstrate those skills? What this does is it gets us in the right mindset right away. When you come into my office or any of these other resume writers' offices, and our first concern is filling the gap, we're starting with that negative mentality. We're starting with kind of a throw in everything in the kitchen sink mentality. I don't want to start there. I want to start with, what is the company looking for, and how can you demonstrate you have those skills? So if you took a training program for the thing that you want to do, you've got those skills in your training program. So let's dig in to that training program. And you can see here this person talking about, and some of these technologies are going to be old because, again, this resume is a few years old, but the idea is that we look at that training program and we pull out every single thing we can from that training program that is relevant. A lot of programs today have a project or a practicum or something, and we want to maximize those as much as possible. We want to say, this is what you did, this is the tools that you used. We really want to drag in anything we can from those relevant experiences, whether they're school or volunteer or extracurricular, or even hobbies at home. I've done this with like someone who wanted to go work at a hardware store and they were a hobbyist woodworker at home. It doesn't matter where it happened. We just have to get that relevant information and put it into the document. And that is our goal, is to put that relevant information into the document. And I never start with a summary. I always start with what's the most relevant piece of that information for the client. So for our person that was an HVAC person, we would put that HVAC training here. And, we could put the dates. We don't necessarily need the start and end date. If we want to fill a gap, we can use the start and end date. But let's say that this person did that from 2018 to 2020. And I'm not going to fill out all the content with HVAC, so you'll just have to extrapolate a little bit. But we would fill that in with anything we can: accomplishments, statements, class projects. And you can see this one just lists the thing they know how to use. With an HVAC person, we might be able to do some of that. The more space on the page that this relevant section can take up, the better, without, adding fluff. And I don't want a bunch of adjectives. I don't want transferable skills in the fluffy sense. I want the hard HVAC skills that this person learned how to do then. If I also want to put in some statements about teamwork or those types of things, that's great, but they're best in context. So worked with a team of 7 to complete this project they had to do at school, that's fine. I don't want great team player. I don't want excellent communication skills. If those things are important, wrap them up into a statement and put them in there. When people are transitioning or they have gaps, we resume writers have a tendency to fill it with fluff because we know we want the page to look full. As much as we can, let's avoid doing that. Pull out those accomplishments, pull out those statements. Then, because everyone wants to hire someone that has some kind of work experience, I would take the person's experience before they got into that training program and put it in here. If it's food service, if it's whatever it is, we would want to do as much as we can to make it sound relevant. So is it customer service, work? Those are the skills, but we still want statements that share value. So I'm not just going to say, display teamwork. I'm going to say worked with a team of however many to deliver food to people on time. Whatever I can to make that statement concise, specific, and demonstrate the skills, not tell the skills, right? We want to show it. We want to sell it. We don't want to tell it. So we're going to put in that experience that person had, whether it was part-time, whether it was volunteer, it really doesn't matter. We just want to fill in some dates so that the company can see my client can work and has held a job. And we want to fill as much as we can in with skills that are relevant, statements that are relevant, and statements that add value. Now, we in the resume writing world, we like to talk about results, but if someone's been, in an HVAC training program, we still want specifics, even if we might not be able to get to results. If they've been working in part-time jobs, we'll do our best to get results, statements that demonstrate value, but at the very least, we want things that are specific and demonstrate or show those skills, not just tell them. So we want to think about how we put that together. And then if we want to address a gap, so let's say we've got the training program, we fill in any other kind of volunteer or other experience that we can. This person's been doing something for 4 years, right? What have we been doing for 4 years? Let's see if there's an opportunity to put something about that in here. If not, I don't want to fill it with a bunch of fluff. So if this person was caretaking for kids or elderly parents or whatever, if that isn't relevant to their job target, I don't want a bunch of fluff about it in there. I might put in a one-liner. So I'm just going to copy this and pretend that I would add in that one-liner for this client that might say family care, giver, whatever. You could, you can be as specific as you want to or not as specific as you want to. And then I'm just going to fill that gap. So let's say that this was from 2020 to present. I could put that in here. It's one little blip on the page, and the rest of it shows my client has been employed, what they've been doing, the skills that they have, anything relevant that we can pull in, whether that's volunteer or whatever. We're saying experience highlights here. We're not saying it's professional experience or paid experience. So we can mix some of those opportunities together when we need to, as long as it's valid, true, real, and they can speak to it. It doesn't really matter whether it was paid or not when we put it in this type of a section. So those, that viewer who has been out of work for 4 years, I hope this is helpful. Lead with the things that are most relevant. Fill in your experience section, and one page is fine. Fill in your experience section with anything relevant that you can. Give me specifics. Tell me what you did. Challenge, action, result, if at all possible. Why were you doing it? Even if you're, serving food to people, why are you doing it? What makes it challenging? And give me the specifics. Fill it in, fill it out, and get that information in here so people can see that you have experience. All right. So that's one example there. Excellent. No. I'm glad you asked this question. So be careful with LinkedIn's features because they're not transparent in how those features work. So if you use the career break feature on LinkedIn, especially as your current job, you will show up in no searches because you don't have a job title that someone is searching for. So if I'm a recruiter, I go into LinkedIn, I search for people with a job title, and I'm looking for that usually to be their current title because there's a lot of fishes in the sea. Why would I search for someone that was their past title? So you want to do your very best to put in a current job experience that has the right title. Now, we're going to have to be a little creative. We can't overdo the creativity. But if someone can consult, you can put in education in the experience section. So I'd put HVAC student, right? And the other advice I would give to that person that's out of work is go and find something you can do in that realm. Go volunteer, find a family friend, somebody who's looking for somebody to help on their construction site, even if it's not HVAC specific. Get out there and start doing something that you can use to fill that gap today, even if it's for free, if you have any means possible to get out there and do that. I know construction, at least here in Colorado, construction companies are hard up for talent. So even if it's not directly HVAC, get out there and start doing something that you can put on that resume, fill that gap, and be very careful, especially with that career break feature on LinkedIn, because it will get you in trouble. Yes, applicant tracking system. Do employers use AI for ATS or real humans? So applicant tracking system is a box. It's a virtual box that holds resumes. They can use a resume scoring feature, and that resume scoring feature has been around for a long time. So it kind of uses AI, but not, it's, they're always evolving, but it's not going to use the latest AI and in the scoring system. And then real humans do look at most of the resumes because, again, the scoring systems aren't perfect. The ones that don't score well, I'm going to look at really quickly and just make sure the system isn't off. So the score does matter, but it isn't going to, in most cases, get you automatically rejected. And okay. Oh, someone was asking how to do the gray shading. We'll look at that in this next example. So the other question that I had was, how do you do it if you've worked a lot of short-term jobs? So for the previous resume, we were talking about gaps and challenges. And if you're interested, drop a note in the chat. I'll send you a link and a discount to get our challenging resumes session. It's a 2-hour session where I go in depth in all of the strategies for dealing with challenging backgrounds, transitions, gaps, military transition, gigs, kind of like this one. We also just did a gigs session in 2022 because it's very popular now for people who work in these short-term jobs. So if you're interested in that, drop me a little note and I will come back and give you a discount on the gigs session as well. But let's go over to my gigs resume. So this was a client I worked with a while ago as well, not too long ago, but always personalized or fictionalized. This person had worked as a startup consultant, but this would work for if you worked at the same company for a long time but had different roles, or if you worked for a staffing firm and were with different companies. You can do this in a lot of different scenarios. So we find some kind of umbrella statement. For this client, it was their job title. They did the same job title at all of these companies. If you're working with someone that's been at the same company for a long time, you could put in that company name here. So ABC company. And then I can put all of the experiences for that company underneath it. And I don't have to, I could put dates for each experience. I don't have to. If I was at that company since, 1980, I might not want to put the full date range here. I could take that full date range away and just put the date range that belonged to each job in here. So applicant tracking systems will be fine with most of this. If you're really worried about it, you can, do some other funky things, but I've got the company, and I could put the full dates here or not. Then I've got the job titles that I held at that company. Or if I'm doing some contract work, I could do it like this, where I've got the main title and then I have the companies. Maybe I put dates with those. Maybe I don't. Really, it depends on the situation. Dates with them is better, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If the company, so the specific question the person asked was if the company has changed names all over and over, even though it's really the same company, you could put a little statement here that said, advanced steadily during transitions. I'm being too wordy, but you know what I say, and I could list the different company names in that paragraph if I really feel like I need to detail out the company's purchase history. But I could put the current company name up here and then just kind of explain the acquisitions and such in a short, we don't want to put too much detail there, a short little statement that would talk about the different company names, especially if those are recognizable and people would be looking for them. I could put a little section there that described those, and then again list the jobs that are related to that company name and jobs, or kind of this umbrella title and the different companies I worked for. If I've got that contract experience or short-term jobs, that can work as well. So I love this. I mean, when we do the challenging resume sessions, one of my favorite things to do is like workshop it, right? What would we do if this was the challenge? What could we do? And our goal is let's do this. So the goal is to demonstrate that the client is qualified. We can't lie. We can't stretch the truth. We can't put stuff on there that they've never done. However, we can say, these are the things you've done that align with your job target. So we're going to blow them up. We're going to, do as much detail as we can. We are going to dive into those experiences, and we might minimize the things that aren't as relevant. And we're going to use the right keywords. We're going to bring in that focus. This is why, especially job seekers out there, this is why you cannot write a resume when you don't have a focus, because every decision you make about the content that you put into that resume should be directly tied to what does that target audience care about. And when you do that and you're specific and you use examples, the keywords should kind of flow. They kind of follow you along. If they don't, then you can go through and search and find and make sure you get the right keywords in there. But you've got that underlying strategy that shows this is what we're doing. It's a marketing document. You're compelling someone to see that you have the experience they're looking for. Last thing, because you asked, and I want to make sure that I answer it. Someone asked, how do you do the shading? Easy. Keep it easy. Keep it breezy. So all you're going to do is highlight this section and use your paint bucket. And if Word is being tricky with you, like you can see it's kind of being tricky with me right here, the other thing that you can do is put in a shape, but put it behind the text. So insert that shape, put it behind the text. You want everything designed before you do that. If you're interested in the like step-by-step design stuff, we even have documents that walk you through it. Let me know, send you the coupon for the design session. So again, 2 hours of me going through specifically how to design a resume. But the quick answer is you put in this shape behind the text and you can make it look really pretty. If you just want to shade like one line, or like this one's easy, 2 lines, then I can just use my paint bucket and you'll see that I can change it different colors really easily. So paint bucket, don't need a text box, don't need fancy, just paint bucket. And then of course your lines, you're just using the border feature to put in those lines. Borders and shading are awesome for the neuroscience of design. They draw the eye through the document. They say, hey, look at this. So you really want to be careful when you use those, because if you put them on something that's nonsensical or not really differentiating, like even core competencies, then you're calling a bunch of attention to something that doesn't really differentiate your client. All right, so this was so much fun. We do have our Academy Certified Resume Writing Training Program starting tomorrow. If you want to go more in depth, if you are a professional resume writer and you want to up level, that's what this program is all about. You write resumes from case studies that we give you so that we can judge your design, your writing, and your strategy. And when you walk out from that program, you not only have a lifetime certification, but you have the confidence of knowing that professional resume writers gave you feedback through a series of projects, that now you've up-leveled your writing and can go and deliver the best results to your clients. So we are next week. Next week, we'll be talking about some of the new things that are going on in LinkedIn. I've got a special live this Friday on my LinkedIn page. I don't go live on my LinkedIn very, very often, but on my LinkedIn page, I'm doing a special live on Friday where we're going to talk about some of the new ways that we can be having our clients build visibility on LinkedIn and off because of the new features that LinkedIn has added. So if you pop over to my LinkedIn page, you'll see that there. And I will see you either on Friday over on my LinkedIn page or on next Tuesday for our next Trend Tuesday Live. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you soon.